lot of crazy people?
Every once in a while, they just make good stories. Yeah.
So do you have a favorite crazy person story?
Favorite crazy person story? How long do we have? I'd say the oddest story, and I'm going to shorten it just to give you an idea, was again at a writers' conference. This guy sits down and he's 18 inches away from me, and I look at his resume and he's a black belt in karate, and he's done stunt double work for Chuck Norris, and his book is his memoir, his story. And let's see, Jesus appeared to him at the age of 18. He went to an Indian reservation for 2 years to learn how to control the weather, and he has discovered a worm in his backyard that talks to him and teaches him all the world's wisdom. And I'm thinking inside my head, I am 18 inches away from a crazy man who can kill me with his bare hands. So how am I going to respond to this? And so I looked up at him and said, you know what? I think you're nuts. He goes, oh man, everybody says that. And I said, seriously, you've got a worm that talks to you? You got to be kidding me. He goes, it's true. But we had a very fascinating conversation. Yeah, every once in a while you run into some folks that are a little off. You're fine, by the way, in case you're wondering what I'm thinking.
That's good. That's good to know. Okay, so if someone, like say you were to accept someone's manuscript and they wanted to be published through Enclave, what would that process look like?
Okay, so let's say you have written, I'm just drawing the scenario so I understand it, so I can answer it correctly. You have written the perfect manuscript. I look at it for Enclave or for the agency. So there's two routes to get to Enclave with me.
Okay.
Okay. Since I am the publisher of Enclave, I also have to sell to Enclave. I'm in this weird position of having two hats. If I like it, doesn't mean it's going to get published, because now there are other people who own the company. I then pitch it to them, and they say yes or no. Now, usually they haven't told me no yet, because they trust my instincts. That's why they hired me. They buy the company from me and then hired me to help run it. But then it goes through editorial process. We do cover designs, the whole gamut of getting the book ready for publication, and that takes about a year from the time of turning in a finished manuscript to getting it on the market itself.
So what do book deals and negotiating with the author, what does that process look like?
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, let's just do the scenario of you're the happy author that I say I would like to publish you, and then I come to you and say, this is the amount of money that we will offer on signing. This is the amount of money we will give to you when you give us a acceptable manuscript. And there's another small portion we'll give you when the book is actually published. That's called an advance. Now that can be small, it can be large, it depends on how famous you are. You might start out and be happy if you get $500 total. Or if you're Ted Decker, you would say, $500, I'm going to that publisher over there instead. So it becomes the negotiation. If you had an agent, I would not be negotiating with you. I would be negotiating with your agent right here. I'd be having this conversation, and then that person would be talking to you. They become your advocate. So they know how to negotiate with you. Try to maximize the contract. Then we also talk about the royalty rates, we talk about other things of that nature within the contract, and due dates, expectations that we have of you as an author, and marketing and publicity, things of that goes into the contract.
So, as a literary agent, do you just which publishing houses do you pitch to?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So how
all the ones that are appropriate for your work.
Okay.
For example, if you write poetry, I'm not going to send your book to a textbook publisher of mathematics. That would be silly. But let's say it's science fiction fantasy. Well, I would send it to Enclave. I would send it to probably right now I'd send it to Tyndale and Blink, the division of Zondervan, and probably to Thomas Nelson's division. Things that I've picked those because they're the most likely ones. But I would not say, for example, send it to Westminster. They don't publish fiction. I'd be wasting their time. So we actually customize who we shop it to think is the most likely one to bid on the project. And we do them all at once. So in nonfiction, I might be sending out to 16 to 20 publishers at the same time.
Wow.
Hoping one will say yes.
So if they don't say yes, what happens?
We move on to the next project. We try again. I
So
tell you to go back and punt.
Tell us to keep coming back.
Yeah.
You said don't give up.
Don't give up. But see, you're already part of the agency now. So I'm investing in you as an author. And I could be working with your projects 2, 3, 4, 5 years and never sell one until we finally get one that works. Because I'm believing in your career and your what you can do. There are times where we try everything and then the author has no more ideas and we're done. We both go our separate ways. That's happened too. It can. There are people, or someone, I know a number of situations where people had one book, we sold that book, and they never were able to write another one. They were a one-book wonder. There's nothing wrong with that. They were called, they were faithful to that calling, but it wasn't a career for them. Agents like authors who are career-oriented because that's how we make a living.
Yeah.
Because we get a percentage of what the author makes. Yeah.
So you said you read all different genres.
Yes.
So did you like start out with one genre and then branch off? Because each one has a different, like they did have different setups and.
Sure. Well, again, it goes back to my book selling days. Because as a bookseller, I sold everything that was in the store, and it's the entirety of what's available. At Bethany House was known for its fiction. Well, they hired me to develop their nonfiction line, which meant I was doing reference works. I was also doing Bible studies, Christian living, devotional, all these different genres, and then made friends, relationships, got to know authors of all different types and stripes. Then when I became an agent, many of those authors then joined the agency, so I would represent them in the future. And, you know, for example, let's say you like to write commentaries on the New Testament, and I'm your agent, and we have some success together. You are at a conference where you're talking to so-and-so who writes commentaries on the Old Testament, and they say, so, you know, how did you get published? And he goes, oh, well, I know Steve Laube, so go talk to him. Next thing I know, I'm representing your friend. And see, my world expands through referral. And that's a natural way of building any business, actually, is through referral. That was a long answer to a short question. I think you get the idea.
Hey,
and your friend can edit that out.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have fun with this.
Yeah.